Kia ora koutou, Markie here. And as a psychotherapist, I think it would be remiss of me really if I didn't record something that was supportive of people who are going to be going into self-isolation. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm really glad that I haven't heard the phrase self-isolate myself yet. I'm sure I'm going to hear that at some point. Because as some of you who follow this channel will know, I also do stuff on elegant speech, and I'm aspergically obsessive about good English. But I haven't heard that yet. So if you need to self-isolate yourself, which of course is tautology, there's a few things just to bear in mind really, just to kind of help you stay sane and well, really. And simple things. There's no kind of rocket science in this really, but it's just useful to be reminded, I think. So one is make sure you stay in contact with people, and because as human beings we're gregarious. Even aspie people like me that are quite antisocial in lots of ways, we still do need that human contact. So, think about ways in which you can do that. So I think, kind of Skype is probably good. Skype and, old-fashioned phone. Now, online contact, email, social media, texting, that's all good. But I think, the closer you can get to some face-to-face contact, the better. And try and make a habit of that, really. Try and make that daily, if you can. And the other thing really is, try and get some daylight, because if you're staying indoors a lot. So one of the things that they don't seem to be telling us is how to support our immune systems. That seems to, for some reason, governments never seem to give that out in kind of health information, really. So one of the things that is good for protecting against chest infections, which your doctors never tell you, is vitamin D. Of course, you get vitamin D from sunshine. Now, if you come from somewhere like the UK, you're going to be pretty starved of vitamin D anyway. So it may be an idea to supplement. Not giving health information here, so check with your doctor. Blah blah blah. But as much as you can, get some daylight. And I think what really surprises me is I particularly with kind of clinical work, is I work with so many people that say that they suffer from seasonal affective disorder, and I say, have you bought one of those daylight lamps? And they say no, and that really kind of surprises me. Why are people so reluctant to take care of themselves, really, in that respect? So if you're in a position where, if you are affected by the lack of daylight particularly, then do think about that. Do think about getting one of those. And the other thing, of course, is exercise. If you're sitting around, you probably, I'm those of you that know me know that I'm always I always squirm a little bit when I talk about exercise. I'm not a great lover of it, but it is essential, and particularly if you've got things like ADHD, it's really useful. So exercise, daylight, social contact. Try and keep up a regime of that, and I suppose honesty is the other thing. If you're likely to get a bit down through self-isolation, my advice is don't try and hide that. Don't try and tough it out. Ask for help. Tell people that you're feeling that way, and get support, and look out for that in other people. Somebody they may be toughing it out. They may not be disclosing, but you can probably recognise that. Usually, the easiest way to recognise it is when people are just a little bit flat. They might be speaking and saying the same kind of things that they normally say. They might even be joking, but there'll be a slight deadness and flatness around that. That's one of the things to watch out for. So we can all support each other really with this self-isolation. It's an interesting thought what this, how long this is going to last, what this is going to do, how that's going to kind of change society and how we interact in the long run. Will it have a lasting effect if we all kind of withdraw ourselves? Is that going to change the way that people behave on an ongoing basis. It's kind of quite. It's interesting how specific things can change the social norm so radically. It's funny. I was talking to my dad earlier in the week, and for some reason it came up about the Second World War, and he was talking about how it was very rare for women to work prior to the Second World War, and then men went off to war, and all the other jobs had to be done by somebody, so the women stepped up and did the work, and then it changed forever. It kind of it just kind of shifted that whole dynamic of of women. Traditionally, the man being the breadwinner, these really defined roles, the man being the breadwinner, the woman staying at home and doing the housework, and that kind of changed completely. And it didn't change because of values or shifting values. It changed, not because of women's liberation or feminism or politics or anything. It changed because of a very practical, a short-term, temporary situation which changed things permanently. So I think it's important to think about how is this going to change this as society. Do you this could change you, this could change how we operate. I mean, kind of withdrawing from physical contact with people. It's interesting. Maybe that could become a kind of permanent thing. Now, I've done another video. I did this a while back before I think people kind of really were thinking too much about this kind of thing. I did a video about the politics and the psychology of the coronavirus, and I really would recommend everyone has a watch of that, because there are some scary things we need to be careful of about nasty turns that society could take, really. So that's something to watch to cheer yourself up while you're in isolation. What else? I suppose the other thing is that if you're in group isolation, if you like, family isolation, if you're with your partner, with whānau, think about how you're going to get your quiet time and your downtime and your alone time, because that's essential. Otherwise, we can kind of go crazy. So one of the scary things about this is we're pretty sure that things like domestic violence incidences will increase and become more severe, because things breed in the dark. So if you're in that kind of situation, really think carefully about are you going to be safe? Do you need to take some kind of action? Do you need to try and get yourself into a refuge while this is going on? Because God knows, without anything can happen to people. People can just disappear in this kind of situation. Not wanting to be alarmist, but I think it needs to be looked at. And also, if you're somebody with a temper, how are you going to manage that? How are you going to make sure that you are not abusive in any way to your kids, to your partner? How are you going to manage that? Think about, have a plan. If you're somebody that struggles with this kind of thing, and maybe it's a good time to kind of start thinking about meditation. That's probably best time ever, really. Forced meditation. Okay. So look after yourself, and look after others, and and I hope we come out as as a compassionate community at the other side of this. Rangimarie.